my boat, picture Rod's boat. We've got 3 other guides here today besides myself and an outfitter. And we fish all over the Flathead Valley, actually all the way up to Eureka, on Lake Kootenai. So I'm going to start out first with the north end of Flathead Lake and talk about trolling up there. And then Sean will talk about the south half of the lake and jigging down there. We'll show you where to fish and how to fish and everything like that, with lines and lures and everything else to use for that. First of all, we'll start out with our gear that we use. For trolling on the north end here, in the springtime we start out in anywhere from 50 feet all the way to 125 feet, something like that. We'll fish the delta and in what we call center bar, which is an area that goes down the center of the lake, and it goes right down through here. The delta is right at the north end there where it comes in. That's where the river comes in, and the food comes in for the fish down the river. All the small fish, all the other things that they eat, the bugs and everything else that they eat, all come in from the river. So in the springtime, when there's a lot of runoff and the snow is melting and everything, the North Fork, Middle Fork, and South Fork all feed into the north end of the lake, and then it goes down to the south end and goes over the dam and out of the lake. When we're trolling, we like to use, this is an 8-foot 6-inch rod, and we like to use a little flasher here to, that attracts the fish in, and so they can see whatever lure we're using. We use hoochies, which is on here, a white hoochie with a little pink to it. We put a bit of Zimmer's bait on there also. We call it cut bait, and we'll cut small pieces of that and put that on here. When we're trolling, we use downriggers. And what a downrigger is just a steel cable that goes down to a desired depth. So if you see fish on your fish finder, then you can go down to that depth with your lures and find out where the fish are and be able to catch the fish at that point. And so what we do is we have a downrigger weight that we suspend from just a rubber band here, just so that if it snags up on something, it'll stretch and it won't break. Behind that, we have what's called a release. We hook our line to the release itself, and then it goes in this clip right here, which is adjustable right here. And so what I use is a trigger pull for a rifle, and put that in here, and I set it about 5 pounds, anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds. So when the fish hits it, it'll pull it out of this release, and you're only fighting the fish after that. You're not fighting the lead ball or anything else, okay, once you're hooked up to the fish. And this is called a Black's release, and we use wire string from either from a racquetball racket or a tennis racket here. And then we hook this to the back of the downrigger ball right here, and that way we can control our depth as to where we're fishing at. Okay. This time of the year, we're also doing some jigging on the north end. That's also on the end of the delta, and then down here where the center bar starts, right up here. We've been doing very well on the center bar the last 2 weeks. So the fishing's been real good down there. So, and what we're using on that is a little lighter rod like this. This is a 6-footer. And then we use a Zimmer bait on here. This is called a rough jig. And we put bait on that also, so that the fish are attracted into that, and they actually can smell it. And some of the people actually out on the lake will actually chum with pieces of fish or something like that to bring the fish in. Smell is the fish's #1 sense. So they smell anything before they see it or hear it. They feel it through their lateral line, and can feel when there's a blade moving, like a flasher or a spinner or something like that. They feel that in their lateral line, and so they can feel it and know what to do. These we go right down to the bottom with a piece of meat on them and jig it right off the bottom. And you can be anywhere from 50 feet again to 300 feet, depending on where the fish are. The most important thing on the boat to have is a good fish finder. That's the #1 thing. That's before anything else. Because if there's no fish there and you're fishing there, you're not going to catch anything. So you need to be able to see the fish and be able to tell where they're at in order to be able to catch them. So you want to spend the most money on the fish finder, and then we also have what's called a chart plotter, which will go by GPS, and it looks like the lake here, only we can blow it up so that we have better visibility of to where we're at on the lake and what's going on that way. So right now trolling will go anywhere from 1.5 to 1.7 miles an hour. And again, we'd use that to go on our GPS and what's happening with our GPS on that. So that tells us how fast we're going. You want to make sure that the lures you're using have good action. So what we do is we put the rod over the side of the boat, put the lure in the water, watch the action as the boat has already got its speed going so that you can see if it's a flatfish, you want to have good action on the flatfish. If it's a flasher, you want the flasher to just be moving back and forth nicely so that it gives a good flash off on it and does that. Any questions?
I was just saying, we have the party boat, right? With whatever find came on it. And here we are out in Flathead. So we have a party boat. So here we are, we're out fishing in the middle of Flathead. And we're using that fish finder, and we can see where we are. And there was another family like a little ways down from us in a little teeny boat, kids carrying on this. They were catching one fish after the other, and we were catching 0. Okay. I mean, we couldn't have gotten any closer to them. You know, and I know I've caught fish in my life, and I couldn't figure out what was going wrong. But I guess it was a cheap fish finder.
Well, if you're seeing fish on the fish finder, then your fish finder is doing its job. That's probably the lure that you're using or using the depth. See, if you see fish at 50 feet, then you want to go down to 50 feet or just above. Fish feed up, they look up to feed. So you want to go down to 45 feet with your jig or whatever you're using, or troll with your downrigger and so forth. Then you want to troll at 45 feet, and they'll see it that way. And I'm sure it was just the lures that you're using and or the bait and or the scent. Now this year, so far this spring, anise has worked very well. Some of the other ones haven't worked as well, but anise is really working for jigging right now. So you have to have several different smells there to be able to get whatever is working.
Is that something that you just buy like here? Is that something you just buy here and then you put it on here?
Yes, that's something you can buy here, and it'll say anise on it right on the bottle. Just put a drop or two on it's all it takes, and then you can drop your jig down, or if you're trolling, you can troll with it. So you anchor out with your boat, or you troll. Okay, and you're using the flashers on there. Okay, and then what are you using for a lure behind the flashers? Oh, okay. Well, we've got several different things. We use different flatfish, like here, and like this one. This simulates a perch, and they feed on a lot of perch, so that works well. That's a good one for jigging and for casting. It will work for trolling. Sean will get into this a little bit more. These are his bailiwick, but these are good for trolling or casting, either one. Cam loopers? Yeah, cam loopers. Yeah, and they've got these over there too, I believe. So you can use those. So
one thing about your scent, if you're setting on a party boat, Norm's talking about scents that are good to attract your fish. A lot of times people will put no, but suntan lotion, especially if it's a spray on. If that stuff gets on your lures, well, it gets on your lures, on your hands, and you touch your lures. That really would be something that fish smell that kind of stuff and just touch even up your line. You know, if you had like a weight above your lure, your downrigger ball, anything with that's got that kind of greasy stuff that the fish don't like on it.
That's what I was just going to say.
No, I just wanted
The guys that are catching fish, they're wearing rubber gloves. They're wearing rubber gloves.
You don't want any human scent on there at all. A lot of guys, Mike likes WD-40, I do too. That takes the human scent away from the lure. So when the fish comes in, they smell it first, and then they come in, they get closer to it, and so then they'll go ahead and hit it and then do that. So there's lots of little tricks like that. If you want to go out with one of us, we can show you lots of things and have 5 hours to be able to talk about things and show you what we're doing and where we're doing it. We're more than happy to show you at any time where we're fishing, how we're fishing, and that type of thing. So I've got a bunch of business cards up here. We got rack cards and everything, so you can go ahead and do that. So grab one, and then if you want to go out sometime, we'll take you out. My wife Roxy over here is going to has got some coupons for a 10% off coupon for this summer. It'll last all summer if you buy it today at the seminar. So you get 10% off that way. Okay. All right, Sean's going to go next, and he's going to talk about jigging and the south end of the lake. He lives down in Polson. He knows the lake very well, lived here all his life, and knows how to catch lots of numbers. So he does very well.